The first time I heard recorded music in a car, I was sitting in Ronnie Burroughs' Cougar in 1974. He said, "I want you to listen to something." And he pulled out an 8-track tape and inserted it into the player. It was Jim Morrison and the Doors singing "People Are Strange." I'd never heard anything like it before. The funny thing about 8-track players, though, was that sometimes the songs were cut off in the middle of the music. You'd be listening to a tune, there'd be a pause, then a click, and then the song would resume playing right in the middle of it. Well, that's pretty lame now, but at the time we thought it was cutting edge technology. Even Rolls-Royce and Bentleys had 8-track tape players built in the early 70s, but of course that was taken over by cassette players, the new cutting edge technology. Well, Ronnie and I were pretty close. We hung out as much as two guys who went to different high schools could. Ronnie was a muscle car lover, and he went through a never-ending circuit of cars, so I was pretty surprised when he ended up one day with a Volkswagen Bug. That wasn't his style, but he still drove it like a crazy man. One day he pulled out of his school parking lot, him and 3 other guys, and he headed for the winding hills and roads west of Cincinnati. He overcompensated on a turn and pulled out in front of a semi-truck. Ronnie was killed instantly, along with another kid in his car, and my life was never the same. It was a hard lesson to learn that sometimes our actions have consequences, and we don't always get a second chance. But it's great to get a second chance in life, isn't it? Because we're not perfect human beings. We screw up a lot. So when we offer second chances to our friends, our loved ones, and even our co-workers, we offer them a little bit of love, a little bit of forgiveness, and at the best of times, even forgetfulness. Because doesn't it feel good to offer someone a second chance? After all, who knows when we'll need one? There's a parable told of a king who has a subject who owes him something like $1 billion. And this subject comes before the king, and he's groveling and he's begging the king, "Please, just give me a little more time. I'll pay everything I owe you," which is utterly ridiculous because he'll never be able to afford $1 billion. The king knows this, but do you know what he does? He gives the man a second chance. He forgives and forgets the debt. And the guy walks out of the palace thinking he's just won the lottery. He's so excited until he's walking down the street and he sees an underling, one of his employees, and that guy, that bum, owes him $100. He walks up to him, grabs him by the collar and shakes him and says, "Pay me the Benjamin you owe me." And the guy says, "I got no money, I can't pay you anything." And the man, who's just been forgiven $1 billion, has his underling thrown into debtor's prison. Well, when that guy's friends hear about that injustice, they go to the king, and then all hell breaks loose because, of course, he forgave the guy $1 billion. And he can't even let a measly $100 go. Maybe you remember some years ago there was a running back for the NFL who was caught on tape abusing his wife. To make matters even more complicated, she came out and told the media and everyone that she had completely forgiven him. Well, that was kind of a curious kind of response, wasn't it? Because although we think everyone deserves a second chance, we're not so sure about pedophiles or guys who abuse their wives, are we? There's a place in the New Testament where a disciple is asked, "Are you supposed to forgive 7 times?" And the answer comes, "No, 7 times 70. Well, we're all in need of a second chance, and it feels good to give a second chance. But maybe someone has hurt you in your life. Maybe someone's destroyed your reputation. Someone's done you wrong. but your faith is telling you to reach out to them, to give them a second chance. I'd offer some guidelines on how to go about that. And maybe the first question I would ask is, was their action part of a pattern of behavior, or was it an aberration, something they haven't done before and probably won't do again? Do they feel regret for their actions? Are they genuinely remorseful? If they could go back in time, would they really do things differently? When I lived in New Haven, I knew an older pastor in Hartford named Walt Everett. Walt Everett had a son who was involved in a robbery. Someone robbed him, and they murdered Walt's son in the course of that robbery. And Walt, of course, experienced a lot of grief and anger, but then he reached out to the man who had shot his son, who'd killed his son. He asked if he could go visit him in jail. He sat with them in the courtroom. He advocated for that man's mercy for that man before the judge. And when he went to prison, Walt visited him faithfully. That man served his time. And when he got out, there was Pastor Everett waiting to give him a helping hand, to get a job, to get his life back together. Well, this criminal, this guy with the second chance, well, he found someone and fell in love with her. And who do you think he asked to officiate at his wedding? You know who he asked. He asked the father of the man that he had murdered, the man who gave him a second chance. If you've been given $1 billion worth of forgiveness, can't you find it in your heart to offer just $100 worth of regret to someone? Because who knows, someday you're going to need a second chance, and someone's going to be there, I hope, to offer it to you.